can we avoid a full-scale war? What is the way out? Or is it there a way out? With me is Dr. Olena Bagno-Moldavsky. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome back, research fellow at the INSS, and Barbara Opal-Rome, Israel Bureau Chief of Defense News. Good evening.
Good evening.
So, Olena, can we avoid a war? Can the world avoid a war?
It depends on what you consider a war. I think that Ukrainian and Russian military capabilities are incomparable, so there's going to be a local conflict. And as we heard today, the United Kingdom Foreign Minister also said that the only opportunity for the international community to react would be the diplomatic one. So they are going to pressure Russia diplomatically, but not military. So there's probably be no war but the occupation of Ukraine.
Well, it's not unreasonable to think that the new standoff line could be a division along the Odessa line in Ukraine.
But can the United States actually stay aside and actually stay silent to what is happening, to what Vladimir Putin is actually...
The United States is not staying silent. Here, President Obama talked to Putin for 90 minutes, I think, 2 days ago, trying to express his vision of the situation. They are not going to. He's going to talk today to world leaders, again trying to consolidate some sort of a solution. I'm sure that what we are going to see is, and I agree to what you just said, that Putin is not going even to occupy Ukraine. I think he has a rank of goals that he will try to achieve from the minimum to the maximum, and his minimum would be even putting domestic pressure on the new Ukrainian leadership, showing them who is the big guy on the block. And then the maximum goal would definitely be the occupation, but not the occupation, but rather trying to twist the public opinion in Crimea. There's going to be a referendum at the end of March, and if all the population of Crimea miraculously or unanimously, as the upper house of the Duma of Russian parliament would decide that they are going to be with Russia, then Russians would say, okay, we are the winners, and we're going to somehow reconsider also the Kharkov airports that are very costly for Russia. So there's going to be an economic component.
In this way or another, can they actually face a war in front of Russia?
My answer, if you were there, very short answer would be no, definitely, because Ukrainians for the last 23 years since their independence, they did not invest in their military, so military capabilities of Ukraine are very limited. But I want to go back to what you just said on Budapest memorandum. Indeed, Russia was ironically the third guarantor of that memorandum. So again, the military option, I think, is even not the option that Putin is considering seriously, but he would definitely try to increase tension until the end of this month, at least, to see what the referendum is going to
So what,
show
it's another show of
Crimea.
muscles that we're talking about from Vladimir Putin?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's more than that, because if there is not provocation, because Ukrainian government is very, very cautious in provoking Russians now. There is a direct instruction that was given by Turchinov, the interim president, to all the military troops of Ukraine not to provoke Russians. So they are not shooting. But if the first shoot is fired, then the situation can deteriorate, and we cannot even forecast what might have happened.
I want to take it to the people. I want to take it to the streets, because I believe that when the Ukrainians went outside, when they went outside and demonstrated against their own government, they didn't expect that this what will happen. Because even on Thursday, we spoke with a former official in Kiev. Yes, and he said, no way that Russia will get in with its troops inside Kiev or inside Ukraine. It's something that we cannot even think about, and yet it might happen.
We were not thinking about it last week, but you see what 1 week can change. I would say that going back to the streets, to the public opinion in Ukraine, there is also a media war between the Russian news and Russian news coming from Russia and news that are produced in Ukraine or by independent sources. And the Crimean Peninsula is much more exposed to news coming from Russia. If you listen to news in Russian or in Ukrainian, you would see an absolutely different reality, which is like the Russian coverage is focused on Nazi-fascist, ultra-radical people coming from the West trying to conquer the Russian peninsula, the Crimean peninsula, and that they would threaten the security of people there. And
same argument, by the way, that Putin has been using to justify his support of Bashar al-Assad, that they're rebels, they're terrorists, they're
Nazi groups.
Nazi groups, yeah, radicals. It's a very different story, but I would say that there is also a very, very deep sense of inertia within the Ukrainian public. The Ukrainian public is not the public, especially in the eastern regions, that still understands or realizes the gravity of their situation. I'm talking to people there on a daily basis in the eastern regions. They still feel that there is a power struggle between the eastern economic elites and their leadership in Kiev. So they do not realize what might happen if Russians are going to escalate.
And apropos to the mood on the street, let's also not forget the mood on the street in America and in NATO countries.
Absolutely.
They're winding up a very heavy, more than a decade conflict in Afghanistan. They're war-weary, they're overexpended, and this also will play to Putin's advantage.
Yeah, can they still avoid it?
We're going to have to see how it plays out, and I think the person in the driver's seat, an unchallenged place in the driver's seat, is Vladimir Putin.
And I still, my take on that would be no escalation, because even if there will be some sort of a military campaign, it's going to be short-lived. And as in Georgia, even with economic sanctions, we saw, and Putin already knows, that these sanctions do not last long. So he can allow himself to behave in the way.
Yeah.
I agree to that. I do not know where Russia is going now. I think that it can allow itself to go in this direction until the oil prices are high. When something happens economically, we still know that Russia is a colossus economically. It's still a colossus on very weak legs, and it might change the whole picture. But right now, it's going where it's going.
And of course, the gas, we just heard about it today in the news. It will be interesting to see how the whole situation will develop in the next few days, and it seems that it's going to develop not to a good way. And of course, you will be accompanying me to another discussion about the subject. Thank you very much
for
coming, ladies, to the studio. And we're going out for